Hello, guys and gals, and welcome. So, season season 3 has been going on for a little while on Diablo 4, and I figure it's about time to do a little state of Diablo 4 video. And I did the whole season 3 thing is really screwing with my brain. I keep wanting to say 3, but I know that's not correct. It's Diablo 4 season 3. Blah blah. I'm probably going to be even worse when it's Diablo 4 season 4. Um, so what do I want to talk about today? Well, let's talk about everything. So, how is the season currently working? Is it fun? Is it not fun? What's my personal impression of the season? Well, my personal impression of the season is that I'm having a lot of fun, actually. It has basically all of the fixes from season 2, which I think pretty much everybody who played season 2, undoubtedly felt like season 2 was a very good step in the correct direction, and much of what made season 2 good is still active inside of season 3. So for the resistance fixes and all the other things like the monsters explosions actually being affected by DR and the werewolf armor working now and all that other stuff, which has made a huge difference in how the season feels in general. Between season 1 and 2 there were such huge upgrades that it's just really nice. And then between the season hair on my nose. Between season 2 and 3, yes, most of those changes have stayed the same, which is definitely very nice. However, they fixed a lot of the bugs within season 3 that were present in season 2. A lot of very nasty bugs, like, for instance, the ball lightning bug, which needed to be addressed. The combo point bug from the rogue, which needed to be addressed using Boltsville. And quite a few other bugs, like the Hoda Barbarians applying 2 passives at the same time when they didn't actually have 2 passives selected, which you can't actually have 2 passives selected. Honestly, most of the bug fixes have been very good, and I think even if you feel like they're not, you need to look at it from a different perspective, which is fixing a bug is never a bad thing. And eventually they can rework that into the game if necessary. It is always important that the game become intuitive to the player and not something that has to be learned through several YouTube videos, like snapshotting your character or utilizing a specific glitch within the game. You never want anything to be based on an underlying bug. Instead, you want it to be based on actually intuitive things. That way, everybody can do it, not just the people who know the trick. And this is a good thing, getting rid of the bugs. And they have actually shown in the past, especially with Hoda, where despite the fact that they removed a bug, they were more than willing to fix it and make it work properly, which is perfectly fine. Hoda Barbarian is still very powerful, not as powerful he was as in season 2, but still very powerful. And there's definitely a whole lot of new builds. Let's cover the Seneschal Spider first. I actually have a whole video going over this guy, but I would like to talk about him real quick. Seneschal Spider is amazing. He's not a spider, by the way. He only has 6 legs. But very, very, very amazing mercenary. If you are familiar with Diablo 2, then you already know how useful mercenaries can be. You can set them up for offensive, you can set them up for defensive, you can set them up to be a tank, you can set them up to be a ranged character, a caster, whether, depending on what kind of character you are, is how good you can set up this guy. So maybe you just want to set him up to make you tanky. Well, you can go with the heal, and you can go with the barrier and things like that. You can throw in the damage reduction, the fortify support, and so forth and so on. And quite honestly, if you do it properly, my little boy Spider here is going to help save your life in a lot of situations. You can also set him up for damage output using things like Flash of Adrenaline. You can set him up for an insight perk where you have nearly infinite regeneration of mana. Basically what you do is you set him up with the Tempest. You throw on the resource support right here with Tempest, and you throw on something like arcing, so it arcs to multiple targets, and now you have basically infinite resource, which is insane. I'm not going to go over this in detail here, but I would like to say that if you're interested in that, I do have a video for it. And the spider is so ridiculously useful that I have to laugh every time I see somebody online say that the spider is useless, making jokes about you can unsummon him, because that's the only way he would be useful, is if you can unsummon him, which is so far from the truth, because quite honestly, the spider is so freaking powerful, it's not even funny. I would even venture to say that the spider, this little Seneschal spider, is more powerful than the vampiric powers that we had last season. More powerful, not less, more. Because it's just extremely customizable to exactly what you need for your particular character. And I would even go so far as to say that I would like to see this Seneschal spider just simply become part of the game. Coming from Diablo 2, I really miss mercenaries. The mercenaries in Diablo 3 were really lackluster, and you couldn't use them in groups. The mercenaries in Diablo 2 were amazing and were basically part of your character. You would build a character and then set up your mercenaries to support that character. And I would totally be for having these spiders as a just a companion from now on, something that we could set up and just have as a pet from this day forward for through all seasons. This could be our mercenary. This spider, and for those of you who played Diablo 2, when I say this, you're gonna be like, "Whoa, he's that powerful." This spider is more powerful than all of the mercenaries that you have in Diablo 2 put together. He can literally give you infinite heals, damage reduction. He can give you freaking infinite barriers. He can give you a taunt. He can give you a pull-in to pull in monsters and focus them in one place. He can give you freaking infinite resource like a infinity. He can literally give you just about anything that you would want. More burns. You're a burning character and you need more burns? Well, guess what? We got burning support. Are you a poison character and you want more poison? Well, we've got poison support. Are you a freaking a barbarian who wants more bleed damage? Well, we got bleeding support. I mean, the ridiculous number of ways that you can set this guy up, which I won't go over in this video, is so insane that honestly I can't understand why anybody would ever say this guy is useless, because he is far, 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 far from useless. And even if you don't want to use him, even if you feel like, I don't want to micromanage a pet, you could just set him up as a heal bot and a barrier bot, and you could just forget about him and never think about him again. And he will literally provide you with infinite heals and an infinite barrier forever. And you don't have to put any thought into him whatsoever. There's no micromanaging. You don't have to worry about where he is. You set up this little initiative support right here, which has him teleport to you. Doesn't matter if he gets stuck on stuff, he will teleport to you to heal you. And you just minimal effort on this guy, and he can still be absolutely insane to support your character. And that's all I can talk about for the spider for now. Let's move on to the next one. The next one is vaults. So if you haven't done any vaults yet, vaults are a special type of nightmare dungeon. You can of course do these nightmare dungeons from here, same way as you would make your normal dungeons. So those are your normal dungeons. You can craft the nightmare vaults. The nightmare vaults require shattered stone, and the shattered stone is used to make these. Vaults are surprisingly fun. I've heard some complaints about them, but I really just don't get them myself. I have been absolutely enamored with vaults ever since they came out. In fact, I don't even want to run these anymore because I think these are garbage. I think nightmare dungeons are inferior to vaults in just about every way. But if they're still here if you want to run them. But personally, I have no intention of running any regular dungeons this season because the nightmare vaults are so much more fun than the regular dungeons. They give you more loot at the end than the regular dungeons. There's also no boss at the end of these vaults. There is a room with lots and lots of monsters in it that you're going to have to conquer, but there is no actual boss type monster at the end of the dungeon like with nightmare dungeons, which means that you literally do not have to actually bring in a boss killer. For the first time ever, there is a endgame sort of content that does not revolve around killing bosses, and that means that if you build a character that is specifically a density clear character and not particularly a boss killer, well, guess what? Your density clear character is going to be able to absolutely demolish these. Now, how do you do vaults? Well, vaults are all pretty much the same, and just for the sake of this video, so I can talk and at the same time, let's just pick a lower tier vault. And basically what you do is you go into the vault, and inside the vault, you're going to always start in one of these locations. So there's always, the vaults are all right here, basically. They're all in this zone. And so when you actually spawn one, you'll see it appear on the map right here. You can, of course, also go here and look for them. The Vault of Copper is right there, but you don't need to. It's literally just right there. You can click on it. You can teleport to it. Now, every single vault starts out with a kind of like a very normal monster zone. And you may or may not have seen these, but They're basically just regular zones with regular monsters in them, and eventually, after a certain point of running through this regular zone with regular monsters, you're going to get to a portal. And we're just going to go ahead and run through here because these monsters have absolutely no chance of killing me whatsoever. And once you've passed all of this Felgercarb, you're going to be presented with a room that has a portal in it. This portal is what's going to take you into the vault. So everything up to this point has been not the vault. Then once you get in here, you're going to be presented with an actual vault. This is the Vault of Copper. And you're also going to be presented with the Zoltan Cool statue. Now, at the end of the dungeon, depending on what world tier you're in, if you're in world tier 3, there's going to be 2 chests. And if you're in world tier 4, there's going to be 3 chests. Each chest has a different price of stacks of Zoltan's warding. Now, the Zoltan warding stacks are basically purchased with pearls. You can see how many pearls that you have here. The pearls are obtained either by running the dungeons, doing the Herald of Malphas. You can also get them from the Son of Malphas, I believe, and a couple other places. I have 170 pearls right now, so as you can see, I'm not doing too bad. Every pearl that you spend here is going to get you 10 charges of Zoltan's warding. Now, how many do you need at the end? Well, each chest is a different price. There's a 1 Zoltan warding chest, there's a 4 Zoltan warding chest, and there is a 10 Zoltan warding chest. So at the end of the dungeon, you do need to have at least 15 stacks left by the time you're done. I'm going to go ahead and grab 50 here real quick. And it's way overkill, by the way. And basically what you're going to do is you're going to traverse through the dungeon. As you traverse through the dungeon, you're going to find traps like these. If you get hit by something, one of the traps, it will reduce your Zoltan warding stacks. As you can see here, I'm now at 49. And the goal, of course, is to get to the end with enough stacks to be able to open the chest. It's kind of a gamble, because basically what you're doing is you're only going to buy as many as you think you need. And as many as you think you need is, well, if you're really good with dodge and traps, you can get away with 15. But it sort of kind of sucks to get to the end of the dungeon and not be able to open some of the chests. Now, the vaults do have glyph EXP, and they also do have the big chest at the end. So even if you don't want to do any Zoltan warding stacks, you can still get 2 chests at the end, actually, and you don't have to worry about anything else. Every single vault is comprised of a doorway that is locked, and then you have to go through a room, specifically, with a bunch of traps that leads toward the objective of actually collecting the doorway token, which is right here. Let me go ahead and grab this doorway token, if I can. Which then you take the doorway token back, and eventually you open the door. Once you get to the end of the dungeon, you're going to be presented with one final trap room, and this final trap room has tons of traps going on it, and they're going to flood you with monsters. Personally, I've had a lot of fun with these. They can be very challenging. Obviously, getting hit by the traps too much can make things difficult. But usually there's a nice dead spot where you can stand, where you don't really have to worry about it too much. I usually look for these destroyable towers, and you can usually hug this corner over here and relatively easily just simply take out most of these guys without losing too many stacks. As you can see, I've been absolutely reckless so far, and I've lost 10 stacks so far, basically, or 11 stacks of my Zoltan's warding, and I've really not been very careful, and I'm still only about 10 down, so it's not really that difficult. In fact, they actually made it a little bit easier recently, but so you will get 1 Greater Radiant chest. That's the first chest that you get for free. And then, of course, the second chest is this one right here. This is the one that ends the dungeon, and as soon as you click on this one, it opens up the glyph EXP, which you can then spend on your glyphs. Now, the other chests, all the other chests in here, have to be opened up manually by spending your Zoltan warding stacks, and you get pretty much a loot overload in here. Couple things to note. This is important, so pay attention. You cannot teleport back to town at any time. If you teleport back to town at any time during the dungeon, you will lose your stacks. So, for instance, if I teleport back to town right now, and then I come back, you're going to notice that my 24 that I have left are going to be gone. Now, at the end of the dungeon, after you've opened up all the chests, it doesn't really matter too much. Like, you've already opened all the chests. You're not going to be able to keep these stacks outside of the dungeon. But as you can see, I've now reset my stacks to 0, so do be aware of that. Also, you cannot purchase the pearls once this final room is opened. So once you open this final room, that's it. You cannot go any further. All in all, I've definitely been impressed with the vaults. I think they're absolutely a great addition to the game, and I'd like to see them stay in the game, to be honest. It's an alternative form of content. We need more than just Nightmare Dungeons, and I absolutely adore these vaults. On top of that, we also have other content within the game, which is kind of the same as the Blood Harvests from Season 2, but they're a little bit less obvious. Basically, they kind of like rotate around the vaults. So every single area has a vault, and then every single area has like an area in front of the vault, which can then be a, you know, like season zones, similar to the way that Blood Harvests work, except they're not highlighted on the map, which is really quite strange. It seems to shift where this particular zone is at any given time. So as you can see right now, these seasonal little leaves. So the area is currently over here in Fractured Peach. So if I take a look, teleport over here to the Bear Tribe, I can show you some of this stuff. Now, the seasonal mechanic area is pretty simple, although it's kind of fun. It revolves around a couple different mechanics. One of them is the obelisks. The obelisks are basically where you can farm elemental cores from. The elemental cores are these special little things that you can utilize to spawn Herald of Malphas. And there's also these kind of things, which are kind of like traps, like the Conduit of Ice here. And they'll drop you, well, some stuff, shattered stones and everything that you need for you know, making things. Let's see if we can find some of the obelisks. So here's an obelisk right here. When you click on the obelisks, they will drop you elemental cores. The elemental cores are used specifically for summoning the Herald of Malphas. The Herald of Malphas is going to drop you all sorts of neat stuff, including igneous cores, which you can use to spawn the boss. And I've had pretty much a lot of fun with this. Look, there's a goblin over here. I don't know where he is, but there's definitely a bunch of gold just like for miles. Goblins are the only ones that leave these paths. Looks like he's gonna get away, you little punk. Little punk. Now, throughout the area, there's also some other interesting things, like there's these traps, which I don't really know how to explain them other than traps. When you stand on them, a bunch of monsters spawn, and they come and try and kill you, which, you know, obviously they're not going to succeed because this guy's OP. There's also 3 different braziers or braziers. There's the fire, lightning, and ice versions. This one, I believe, is... I can't remember which one that one is. I think it might be lightning, if I remember correctly. So these are the braziers here, and the braziers require 3 elemental cores and 50 shattered stone. When you activate them, it summons a whole bunch of monsters. You get to fight like pretty much everything in the world. You get tons of shattered stone. You get tons of gold. You get other things like some materials and whatnot. Eventually, the Herald of Malphas spawns, and he's what you're looking for. In this zone. It's very similar, if you remember from Season 2, to the little thing in the center where you would put your blood in, and it summoned a whole bunch of elites and you know, like little boss monsters for you to fight, and you end up with a whole bunch of loot at the end. This is pretty much the same thing, and then once the Herald of Malphas spawns, he's going to drop for you either an igneous core, some of the governing stones, the tuning stones, and usually like a legendary item or two. And you can sit here and you can farm Herald of Malphas all day long to try and get the materials that you need, like the Pearls of Warding, the igneous cores, which the igneous cores are in the consumables, which I don't know if I have any igneous cores left on this character. Igneous cores are used to spawn the Herald of Malphas, or sorry, the Malphas himself, not the Herald of Malphas. To get to the Malphas, you got to go back to the Gate Hall, which is the kind of like the central area for all of the Season 3 stuff. And basically, there is one in there. It's called the Loom. And the Loom is where you actually spawn Malphas, and I can talk about that one too, even though I don't have the Igneous cores to open it. Malphas fight is basically a level 100 boss. All the monsters in there are level 100, and it's not really too difficult. There's 4 pathways. You got to open up all 4 pathways and collect all 4 stones to get through. And once you've done that, you can open up the main door and you can fight Malphas. Now, each pathway has 2 1 warding chests. And the boss, Malphas, has a 10 and a 4, which means that if you want to open up all of the chests within the zone, you're going to need a total of 2, 4, 6, 8, right? And then 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. So 22 is the total number that you would need if you want to open up all the chests. However, the optimal way to do this is actually to do it in a group of 4 and have one person go one direction, one person go the other, one person go the other, and one person go the other. So you have 4 people going 4 different directions, and you open up your 2 chests, and then you open up the 2 chests at the end. So that's 10 plus 4 is 14, and then 15, 16. So you only need about 16 stacks of warding total to open up all the chests at the end. Now, you get 10 per, so if you grab like 30, usually you're good enough. However, do be warned that the boss himself does actually activate traps, and if you get hit by traps during the boss fight, it will remove your warding stacks. So just to be safe, you could go in with like 50, and you probably have more than enough. As you can see here, it does take 7 Igneous cores to spawn this, and you can share that cost among group members. Not everybody needs it. Only the person who opens the door needs it. Also, strong warning, caution, get your stacks before you open the door, because you cannot get any stacks once you open the door. So make sure that everybody has stacks in your group before the door is opened. Otherwise, you're going to have some very unhappy person who can't open any of the chests. Malphas also drops some things himself, and he also is the only one that's capable of dropping the unique stones, so keep that in mind. Now, we also have 6 unique items new to this particular season, and the 6 unique items are pretty darn amazing, if you ask me, as well as quite a few new aspects, like the Juggernaut aspect, which I think I actually have a Juggernaut one around here somewhere. The Juggernaut aspect is absolutely insane. It just simply adds a huge amount of armor to your character. Ridiculous. There's also the aspect of adaptability, which is great for basic skilled characters, if you haven't taken a look at that. There is a really nice Starfall Coronet, which is specifically for the Meteor Sorceress, which makes the Meteor Sorceress pretty OP. There is also a very powerful Pain Gorger's Gauntlets, which is for basic builds. There's also the Unsung Heretic Wraps, which is really good for the lightning builds. And there's the Mutilator Plate, which is really nice for the Bloodlance Necromancers. I mean, all in all, we have a lot of stuff. There's the Rend Ring as well, which is pretty sweet. Now, in my particular opinion, I really think that the 2 best that have been added to the game this season is the Pain Gorger's Gauntlets, which are very, very effective across multiple builds. It is a all-class item, a pair of gloves that basically does all of your basic skill damage to all enemies that are currently marked by the effect. I'm currently playing around with this on my William Wallace Lightning Bolts from his Arse build, and I've been having a lot of fun with the Pain Gorger's Gauntlets and the way that they allow you to make kind of like some unique builds, because you could focus on a basic skill, and while focusing on a basic skill, you can still hit like an entire screen. All you have to do is you have to hit everything and mark it, and it gets marked for 3 seconds. And then as you're attacking a marked enemy, all of those marked enemies will basically share that damage across the entire pack. And it does a pretty massive amount of damage inside of groups. Actually been having a lot of fun with this one. On top of that, there's also another very generic one that was added to the Rogue, which basically gives you the ability to just like nuke somebody with one ability. It's a pair of uniques. I don't have it on gloves. I don't have it on me. But I don't know if it is gloves. But the unique basically makes it so that every single time you use an ultimate skill, your next core skill will burn all of your energy and give you a huge bump in damage for every point of energy that it gives you. I think it's 1.5% per point of energy. So stacking energy with this will obviously help. It works for any core skill. So you can use it, with twisting blades, penetrating shot, barrage, rapid fire, etc. And basically, when you fire that ability off, it's going to be a just nuclear bomb version of itself because it's going to have a huge damage bump from the new unique item, and it's honestly really neat, and it could activate a lot of very fun builds with the core skills because it works with all core skills, and it does require that you use an ultimate, so you get to have to use an ultimate and a core skill together. But it doesn't really tell you which core skill, it doesn't really tell you which ultimate, right? It's kind of up to you. What else do we have to go over here? We talked about the Seneschal. We talked about the new vaults. We talked about the boss. How about the overall changes within the game? Well, I mean, honestly, the game is still pretty much how it was in Season 2, which is really good. And I talked about how, like even the Hoda Barbarian is still pretty powerful, just not as powerful as he was before. I've been having a lot of fun with the Bone Spirit Necromancer, which they've beefed up this season. I've had a bunch of my friends have been playing around with the Lightning Druid, which honestly, one of them is absolutely insane. The Lightning Druid seems like a very powerful build. The Meteor, I haven't had one of my friends fully come online with it, but I have been present while they've been playing with it, and oh my god, the meteors just spam the screen. It's absolutely insane. There's just meteors everywhere. And I've been having a lot of fun this season. I think this is a really good step forward in the season. Obviously, they haven't put out the leaderboards yet, and personally, I don't really think that it's a bad thing that they haven't put out the leaderboards yet. I don't really see any reason why the leaderboards need to be out at the beginning or the middle or the end of the month, to be perfectly honest. It really just constitutes people rushing to get to it. Gives people a chance to actually enjoy the season, in my opinion. And I know for a fact, as a content creator, that having the ability to spend a little bit of time and enjoy the season is better because once you get into the leaderboards, that's all you're going to be interested in, and you're going to rush there, and you're not going to really want to do anything because, well, you're only interested in the leaderboards at that point. So it's kind of nice to have a little bit of a gap between them. Personally, I think it is. And, there's a lot that could be said about the leaderboards, and we don't even know exactly, like if it's even going to be good yet, so we haven't really seen that either. I mean, all in all, this season gets a thumbs up from me. I think it's a move in the right direction. I really like having a mercenary. I'm having a lot of fun with the builds that they created. The itemization of some of the uniques that they've added, like the Unsuck Heretic Wraps, I think is bad. I don't like unique items that are pointed directly at a specific skill. I much more rather like the itemization of like the Pain Gorgers, which is not pointed at a specific skill, but is pointed more generically at a skill type, and then the character kind of like works from there. This type of itemization is a better type of itemization, in my opinion, than you will ever get from items like this. Between these two, if you were to really like compare these two items, you got to understand that the unsung aesthetic wraps are only useful to Lightning Storm Druids. The Pain Gorgers are useful to every single character in the game. Every single person who uses a basic skill could potentially get use out of the Pain Gorger's gauntlets. But only one class and only one skill gets use out of the Unsuck Aesthetic Wraps. So when you think about it from that perspective, you understand how itemization changes drastically when you focus on one specific item, when you focus on one specific skill, when you focus on one specific character, versus when you make items like the Pain Gorgers, which are open and more broadly used across everybody. And I like seeing them add items like the Pain Gorgers into the game because, in my personal opinion, the Pain Gorgers represents the best kind of itemization that we want from them. This is what we want to see. We want to see items like this that inspire creativity and are useful across the board, as opposed to items like this, which are very specific to a very specific skill in a very specific class and limit creativity. What else is there to talk about besides that? They did add some pretty cool cosmetics, and I know cosmetics aren't really like like a super big part of the game or anything, but I gotta say, some of the new cosmetics are coming online. Like the Lord Eater one with the frickin' samurai outfit, and and the freaking like tattoo on the barbarian. Like I gotta admit, the Lord Eater set is one of the better sets that I've seen so far within the game. And I say this because there've been some really ugly paid sets in the game, and I don't exactly know why some of these sets are just absolutely disgusting looking. I mean, but lately it seems like they've been more on point with the sets, and they've not been as ridiculously stupid. I mean, some of them I would never have purchased like in 1,000 years. I looked at them and I was like, yeah, that's like the worst thing I've ever seen, and I probably would never touch that, even if you paid me. I wouldn't use it. And then this season they're coming out with some more decent ones in my opinion, like the Lord Eater set as an example. This one is also rather interesting, although it's not my personal preference. It's kind of an interesting, like, almost looks like a White Knight Paladin set, but it has, like, roses all over it. The roses kind of ruin it for me, but it does look really neat. I'm not going to lie. It looks more like the kind of stuff that I think people would be interested in actually purchasing, as opposed to some of the other sets in here that just look really ugly. I think this one is new too. I don't remember seeing this one. The Adepts of the Faith. The hell is this? It's like what is this? Freaking I see. Okay. So this is the holy order basically, like Inarius's sect. They got a female one too. Because it looks like that one could be either. I don't know. I'm not really necessarily advocating purchasing stuff, but I just thought it was kind of crazy that a lot of the times you would go on here and you would look in the shop, and most of the time, like, even if you did want to spend some money, like a little kid going to a book fair, a lot of the times you didn't want to purchase any of it because you're like, this stuff's disgusting. There's definitely been some upgrades in the shop section. Speaking of which, let's talk about something that isn't in the shop. So the battle pass, the battle pass equipment. I mean, there is some interesting stuff in here. Obviously, we've got like the mechanical horse. There's also basically the whole set, which is this set. It kind of reminds me of the Skyrim freaking like Centurion, Dwemer Centurions. Some of the pieces in here are pretty cool, like the weapons and whatnot. There is a lot of free stuff in here too, obviously, and I've been playing around with some of that on my character. I did notice, however, and just a warning to you guys that might be using this soul power thing, it's a little small, and it's a little low, and it's a little hard to see. And I think they need to make this one bigger because I've had a couple times where some team members died with this one active, and I couldn't find their body until like the map kind of cleared out because it was kind of buried underneath of all of the stuff that was going on. And I mean, so overall, it's not a bad one. I think I liked season. I think I liked season two's cosmetics a little bit better, but there definitely are some interesting ones in here, like where is the armor? They got the little book in there. There's the armor right there. This is the kind of like the armor piece with like all the little clockwork pieces on it, and it's got like the little thing in the center. Of course, that's with the paid battle pass. To get that part, you actually have to do the paid part. You do get all the seasoning blessings for free. And speaking of the seasoning blessings, I definitely recommend that you check out the bonus shrine duration. It's like a 50% bonus shrine duration. And if you grab like some shrine duration on your boots, man, the shrines last forever. And it is really nice when you're rolling through the dungeons and you've got like the massive shrine duration. It really feels like the shrines just keep going and going and going, and I certainly am not sad about it because a lot of the times you can even collect like 2 or 3 shrines at the same time because of how long the duration goes. Absolutely amazing. There The gate hall itself is pretty neat. I actually do like the gate hall. My only complaint is I really wish there was like a little pathway right here. Because they make you run all the way around here to get to this little spot. But there is an alchemist, there's a forge, there's a place to sell. You got the jeweler, there's the occultist, you got your stash and your wardrobe, and there's even like a little healer guy over here, and the purveyor of curiosities is up there. So you have basically everything that you need inside of the gate hall, and then of course. You can also leave the gate hall and do like quests and stuff out there. It's really not that big of a deal. All in all, I think the Gate Hall is a nice little addition to the game. It's just kind of like a central little zone that you can go to, which is associated with your vaults. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I always manage to forget something. Always manage to forget something. Leveling up the pet here. They made it significantly easier than it was before, but you can actually craft the boxes if you want to. And when you craft the box, you actually do get the pieces to level up your guy in here. And every single one you collect levels it up. Ever since they changed the EXP, it's far easier to level this guy up than it was when we started. And the only trouble I'm having is getting access to these unique ones, which comes from the Echo of Malphas fight. And these things are ridiculously powerful. Between the +4 skills and the 150% effectiveness, which can be tied to the flash of adrenaline, you can get basically double damage with the Genesis and the flash of adrenaline ability, and you can have +4 skills. So like just bare minimum, like if you can grab both of these uniques, you can get +4 skills and double damage, and then on top of that, you can have whatever else you're running. I highly recommend that you guys check out Tempest. Tempest is a very fast ability that does pretty good damage, has a nice little multiplier on it, and then on top of that, it also is very good for activating these. So if you have something on here that you're trying to activate or keep activated, the Tempest ability is the fastest of the lot and is definitely the one that can help keep these things activated the most. I do recommend, though, if you're going to use Tempest, that you tie it together with arcing so that you can have it hit more than one target at a time. It's pretty darn nice. As far as configurations go with this guy, it's really going to be up to what you need specifically for your character. I think that's the most important thing. Overall, I think that pretty much covers everything. The season quest line was kind of fun too. The Ayuzan whole thing with the loom and whatnot. I'm trying not to spoil anything for you guys, but I actually did have a lot of fun going through the quest line the first time. And the Malphas fight was pretty fun as well. So, the first time you fight Malphas when you're leveling up, that's going to be like one of the hardest ones because you're just a little low-B character and you're going to have a little bit of tough time with it. I actually had a lot of fun fighting Malphas the first time. It's kind of a breath of a fresh air having a different boss fight than normal. It's so tactically different than the normal boss fights that you do that it just feels different, and it's nice to have a different boss. And then when you finally fight the Echo of Malphas later, it's the same boss fight, it's just more difficult. And if you're really over-leveled, if you're really high level, you'll probably barrel through him no problem. But if you're under-leveled when you fight him, it's going to be the same difficult fight that you had the first time. They did add a couple really cool aspects too, which I may not have covered. There's a really nice new aspect for the Bone Spirit, which fires bone splinters out. That one is amazing. They also updated the shattering aspect, so that one is really cool now. They took a look at quite a few of the aspects, and if you take a look in the patch notes, I do have a patch note video up. Honestly, the changes that they made to some of the existing aspects are very good, with the exception of the couple that they fixed because they were bugged. But overall, really liking the new aspects they added, as well as the fixes to the existing aspects that they added, and overall, it's a really good season. I've actually really been enjoying the season so far, and just about everybody in the kinship too has been enjoying the season so far, which is kinda strange considering that when I look online, everybody seems to be hating on the season, but I just I can't really see it. Like I'm playing with my friends, I'm having fun, I'm chatting with you guys in chat, and so far I haven't really seen any negative opinions, like from people who are actually playing the game, from people who are actually interacting with me, and who are in the kinship, having fun, leveling up their characters. I really just haven't seen a whole lot of negative output opinions on it. However, like I said, when I go online, I see tons of negative opinions, and I can't really I can't really correlate them together because it doesn't match my experiences within the game. The only thing I can tell you is that you might want to take the negative opinions that you see outside of the game with a grain of salt, because everybody that I've seen who's in the game playing it seems to be having a lot of fun. And so I can't really like figure out why that is myself. But doesn't really matter, does it? If you're having fun, you're having fun. Anyway, as always, I do appreciate you guys and gals watching my videos, and when we're just talking about the state of Season 3 in Diablo 4. And as always, keep watching.